Hello. Over the next several minutes, we'll be covering the basics of operating your new Mack vehicle. Mack vehicles are engineered and manufactured with you, the driver, in mind. They incorporate the latest technology to provide comfortable, safe, efficient vehicles that make you feel at home on the road or on the job. This program will provide you with a high-level operational overview for your Mack, including performing your pre-trip inspection, cab controls and indicators, starting up and shutting down the engine, and properly moving the vehicle with an emphasis on fuel economy and the US 10 exhaust after-treatment system. New Mack chassis are equipped with Mack's ClearTech engine technology, which is EPA 2010 emission compliant, and includes a selective catalytic reduction, or SCR system, for removing nitrogen oxide, or NOx, from the exhaust, as well as a diesel particulate filter, or DPF, that's used to remove soot or particulate from the exhaust. Now, the catalyst for Mack's ClearTech SCR is over on the passenger side, right behind the DPF. At the heart of Mack's ClearTech technology is diesel exhaust fluid, also called DEF. Diesel exhaust fluid is a specially refined and purified fluid that's injected into the exhaust stream ahead of the SCR catalyst. The vaporized DEF and hot exhaust gases enter the SCR catalyst, where a simple and safe chemical reaction occurs that transforms NOx into nitrogen and water vapor, two clean and harmless components of the air we breathe. DEF has its own tank over on the driver's side of the truck, distinguishable by its blue cap, and a gauge in the dash that displays the level of fluid in the tank. The DEF tank gets filled with only approved DEF from a sealed container or an approved dispenser, nothing else. We'll talk a lot more about the after-treatment system later in this program. But now let's talk a little bit about your pre-trip inspection. The first step in performing your inspection is to inspect the engine compartment and check the fluid levels. Open the hood by releasing the latches on each side of the hood. Using the bulldog as a handle, pull to raise the hood up over the engine until it stops fully open. There's a safety latch that will drop into the locked position. First, let's check the engine oil. Check the oil when the engine is cold. The oil level should be between the minimum and maximum indicators on the dipstick. Don't add oil unless the level is at or below the minimum indicator. Next, check the coolant level at the plastic expansion tank on the radiator. The minimum level is just below the black bracket, and the maximum is just above. So if the level is behind the bracket, you're good to go. If you need to add coolant, always use the recommended mixture of antifreeze and water. Never use just water or just antifreeze. While the hood is open, remember to check the washer fluid level in the reservoir. When you're finished checking the engine compartment for any visible problems and all the fluid levels have been checked, start the engine and let it idle for the rest of your pre-trip inspection. Your inspection should include a walk-around of the chassis to check the tires, wheels, and brakes, the suspension, lighting, including the turn signals and brake lights, a physical inspection of the wipers to make sure they're in working order, and a physical inspection of the fuel tank and the DEF tank. While checking the DEF system, look for DEF and coolant leaks. DEF dries as a white powdery substance, so seeing a white residue around the DEF injector and the SCR catalyst may indicate a leak. Also, check the vehicle coupling and make sure the vehicle is properly loaded and the load is secure. The operator's manual has the complete checklist of everything you should include in your pre-trip inspection. Let's close the hood and check out the cab. Release the safety latch before closing the hood, and be sure to close the latches after the hood is down. Mack cabs incorporate exceptional room, comfort, and ergonomics with the highest standards of fit and finish. Now, depending on the type of transmission in your vehicle, there are 3 or 4 pedals in the cab. The small pedal all the way on the left is the steering wheel adjustment pedal. Next, if your vehicle has a manual transmission, will be the clutch pedal. To the right of the clutch pedal are the brake pedal and then the throttle pedal. So let's climb in. Now, remember, when entering and exiting the cab, always face the vehicle and have at least 3 limbs in contact with the vehicle or the ground at all times. Okay, now let's take a quick tour of the key indicators and controls. If your vehicle has a manual transmission, the shifter would be on the right. Now this truck is equipped with Mack's mDrive. This 12-speed 2-pedal transmission maximizes driver comfort, payload, and fuel economy. With mDrive, there's no clutch pedal. The gear shift is operated by an intelligent shift pad module located up here on the dash and is managed by sophisticated electronics that delivers smooth shifts every time. The mDrive is available in both direct drive and overdrive options. The shift pad here is the premium level, offering greater operator control than the base model fleet version. If your truck is equipped with a standard manual transmission, there will be a decal showing the shift pattern on the console. Now, if for some reason this decal is missing, you'll need to get the transmission ID number from the transmission case and look up the shift pattern in the operator's manual. The high-low range selector is on the front of the shifter, and depending on the transmission, the left side of the shifter may have a reverse-forward selector switch for multi-speed reverse transmissions or a splitter switch for transmissions that feature split gears. The instrument panel features a wraparound dash with electronically controlled race-type gauges, meaning the needles point straight up when the truck is running properly. The large, easy-to-read displays and gauges helps keep you focused on the road ahead. Above the speedometer and tachometer are most of the telltale indicator gauges and lights. A telltale indicates the actuation of a device, a correct or defective condition, or a function failure. For example, the electronic malfunction light, the engine shutdown indicator, high beams, and the turn signals are all telltale indicators. When the ignition key is turned on, certain telltale lights will light up for a short period of time as each system check is run, about 3 to 6 seconds, and then go out. This shows that the indicators themselves are working and that the functions and devices they represent are working as well. You can also use the co-pilot dash diagnostics to perform a physical test of gauges, lights, and audible alarms. We'll talk more about the co-pilot later. I'm sure you're familiar with most of these indicators, and the operator's manual has a complete list of each indicator and its function, so we won't go into what each indicator means. However, when you see some of these indicators light up, you'll have to take immediate action. For example, if the wait to start indicator lights up, the engine intake preheater is on. You should not crank the engine until this light goes out. This is an integral feature of the engine protection system. If the amber electronic malfunction warning indicator comes on, you can keep driving as long as there is no substantial power loss, but the vehicle should be brought in for service as soon as it is convenient. The red engine shutdown indicator lights if there is a problem with a major engine system, such as low coolant level, low oil pressure, or high water temperature. All of these conditions require you to safely park your vehicle and shut down the engine. Over here on the left is the DEF level gauge, and just above that is the amber DEF warning light, which will illuminate when the DEF level is too low. Occasionally, you may see the malfunction indicator lamp light up. This indicates that the onboard diagnostics system needs to be accessed for information. Over here on the right is the DPF smart switch. Now, one of the benefits of Mack's ClearTech technology is that the need for the driver to actively regenerate the DPF is significantly reduced in vocational trucks and all but eliminated for over-the-road tractors. The DPF Smart Switch includes an amber regeneration light on the upper part of the switch. If this light is illuminated, regeneration is needed. While uncommon, this may happen in some applications. At this point, it will be necessary to stop in a safe place for a parked regeneration. The amber high exhaust system temperature, or HEST light, displays when the exhaust outlet temperature is high. While with Mack ClearTech engines it is very rare, this lamp will only illuminate for high exhaust system temperature when the vehicle is moving at less than 5 miles per hour or during a parked regeneration. Again, we'll do a little more in-depth overview of the after-treatment system and its operation later on. Now that we've covered some of the key telltale indicators, let's take a look at the driver's seat, steering wheel, and seat belt. The fore-aft position of the driver's seat is set with the handle down here on the front of the seat. The height, lumbar, and backrest controls are on the side of the seat. To adjust the tilt and telescope position of the steering wheel, push down on the adjustment pedal and move the wheel to a comfortable, safe position. That seems about right. Note that you need to continue to hold down the pedal while adjusting the steering wheel. Mack vehicles are equipped with 3-point seat belts designed to provide the highest degree of safety, convenience, and comfort. The comfort latch feature relieves the constant tension of the seat belt so that it doesn't tug on the driver as the seat moves up and down. To set the comfort latch, put one hand between your chest and the seat belt. This should create about an inch of slack, and then use your other hand to set the comfort latch by lifting up the lever. Never adjust the driver's seat, the steering wheel, or the comfort latch while the vehicle is moving. Okay, now let's cover a few more controls. The light switch controls are over here on the left. They are safely ground reachable, so all the main lights can be turned on for inspection without having to climb into the cab. Over here on the right is the optional hand control brake lever. Pull it down to activate the trailer or rear axle service brakes, depending on your vehicle. Here is the wiper control. The lever controls the intermittent timing and the low and high operation of the wipers. Press the top of the button to activate the washer. There are a number of optional switches that may be included in this part of the panel, such as the engine brake switch, battery switch, or ignition switch. The operator's manual has a complete list of the optional switches and their functions. Underneath the wiper control and DPF switches are the speed control switches for the cruise and hand throttle control and PTO speed control. Below the optional switches is the parking brake valve and, depending on your vehicle, the trailer air supply. The yellow diamond-shaped valve is for the parking brakes. To apply the brakes, just pull on the knob. To release them, push the knob back in. To apply the trailer emergency brakes in a Mack tractor, simply pull on the red octagon-shaped knob. To release the brakes, just push on the knob. This will pressurize the trailer air reservoir. As a special safety note, remember that the trailer air supply valve should not be used for parking. Next, let's take a look at the driver information display. All new Mack chassis are equipped with Copilot, Mack's in-dash computer. Copilot not only displays information from the VMAX system, but lets you enter information as well. Copilot is controlled with a stock switch, which is located on the right side of the steering column. There are 3 buttons on the stock switch: Escape, Enter, and the up and down button. Use the Escape button to take Copilot back to the previous screen or level in the menu. Use the Enter button to select the highlighted menu item. When starting up and moving the vehicle, the Enter button is also used to confirm or acknowledge a pop-up screen. Use the Up and Down button to navigate through the various menu items and, when indicated, to enter information into the displays. As mentioned earlier, after checking the engine compartment and engine fluid levels at the beginning of your pre-trip inspection, start the engine and let it idle for a short time while you finish the rest of your inspection. But remember, extended idling is not recommended for good fuel economy. Of course, before you even put the key in the ignition, be sure the parking brake is set, the clutch is disengaged, and the transmission is in neutral. Note the safety feature of the mDrive. It will shift into neutral before the starter will engage. When starting the vehicle, there's no need to apply the throttle while the engine is cranking. Do not crank the starter for more than 45 seconds. The Mack 4 electronic control system only allows 3 45-second cranking times within a 3-minute period. After that, it locks out the starter for up to 2 minutes to allow it to cool down. Remember, if the wait to start telltale indicator lights up, don't crank the engine until the light goes out. And finally, when starting your vehicle, do not, under any circumstances, use starting fluid on the engine. This is an extremely dangerous practice and must be completely avoided. When the engine is running, check the oil pressure and temperature on the gauges to the left of the tachometer. The normal operating oil pressure is between 40 and 90 psi. When the engine is idling, the oil pressure should be between 40 and 60 psi, and the maximum oil pressure when the engine is cold is 100 psi. When operating at full load, the oil temperature can be approximately 250 degrees Fahrenheit and might even fluctuate up to 270 degrees. But if the engine oil operating temperature exceeds 250 degrees Fahrenheit for more than 20% of the total engine operating time, you may be required to change the oil. Check your operator's manual for more information. Also, check the engine coolant temperature at the coolant temperature gauge. Normal coolant operating temperature is between 170 and 225 degrees Fahrenheit. As noted earlier, maintain the coolant with the correct mixture of antifreeze and water. Never use straight water or straight antifreeze, and do not mix different types of antifreeze. The cooling system cap is under 16 psi of pressure when operating. Don't open the cap until the cooling system temperature cools down. When operating your vehicle, review all gauges and telltales for normal readings before, during, at approximately 5-minute intervals, and at the end of your trip. When you have completed your trip, do not shut off the engine right away if it was under a heavy load. Idle for 2 minutes to stabilize the temperature of all the engine parts, and then shut off the engine. If the engine was under light load, for example, coasting off of the interstate onto an exit ramp and then into a parking lot, the engine can be shut off as soon as you have safely parked the vehicle and applied the parking brakes. And finally, if you must idle the engine for cab heating or cooling, keep the engine at low idle, around 650 RPM. Mack's modern engines do not need increased RPM to maintain engine heat. Let's talk about some of the things you need to do and be aware of when driving your vehicle. The following techniques and suggestions will help ensure the safe, efficient, and economical operation of your vehicle, as well as cut down on wear and tear. When slowing or stopping the vehicle, let the throttle off completely and allow the truck to slow down by at least 5 miles per hour before stepping on the brakes. This helps to improve fuel economy. If your truck is equipped with a Mack mDrive like this one, operate the transmission in automatic drive mode, which always defaults to the economy mode when operating under normal conditions. You'll notice on the premium shift selector, reverse, neutral, drive, manual, performance mode, and upshift and downshift. If your vehicle is equipped with the fleet shift selector pad, you'll notice that it has 5 control pads: reverse, neutral, drive, manual or hold current gear, and this one with the star is for limp home mode. When starting out with the mDrive, Start with your foot on the service brake pedal. Select D or R, then release the park brake, and then the service brake. The mDrive features low vehicle speed modulation, which makes low-speed maneuvers, trailer hookups, and docking go smooth and easy. Under most driving conditions, the mDrive functions as a fully automatic manual transmission, meaning no input is required from you, the driver. If you feel the need to operate the mDrive in a manual mode, select M. To upshift, press the plus pad, and to downshift, press the minus pad. You'll notice in Copilot there are up and down arrows in the lower part of the display that indicate the number of gear ranges you can efficiently select. Do not exceed these ranges, as fuel economy will suffer. The performance pad is used when higher shift points may be required for accelerating up steep highway on-ramps or when operating in hilly to mountainous road conditions. The performance mode allows the engine to rev up another 150 to 200 RPMs before making an upshift. The performance mode will return to normal mode when there is no request for full throttle loads. With the Fleet Shift selector, manual mode gives you the ability to maintain the current gear. This is recommended practice when descending a grade and, if furnished, maximizing the engine RPM for the power leash engine brake performance. The asterisk is for a limp home mode only. In the extremely rare case that there is a transmission problem that will not allow normal shift operations, select the asterisk and the transmission will engage fourth gear only to move the vehicle to a safe location. The limp home mode on the premium shifter is enabled by pressing and holding down the M and the minus pads. You will notice that the mDrive and the Mack ClearTech engine function as an extremely efficient combination. That's because the engine, vehicle, and transmission share 100% of the available information to determine the shift strategy. One of the basic features of mDrive is its shift strategies. The mDrive senses when the tractor has no trailer or is lightly loaded and adjusts the shift points to the optimal RPM. The mDrive also determines if you are ascending or descending a grade and changes the shift strategy to always optimize fuel economy. The mDrive also has an optional grade gripper, which assists in holding the vehicle on a grade by maintaining the service brake pressure for a few seconds as the operator's foot moves from the brake to the throttle pedal or as soon as the mDrive senses throttle input. Another optional feature is the Mackcelerator, which is a throttle pedal with a virtual 100% detent. When applying foot pressure beyond the detent, the mDrive will select a lower gear to assist with acceleration, such as when it is safe to pass. Once you reach a steady cruising speed, select a gear that is in the engine's sweet spot between 1350 and 1450 RPM. The so-called sweet spot is the engine RPM that is optimal for both fuel economy and power, depending on the engine load and driving conditions. Look to the Copilot for the sweet spot indicator, represented with the double $sign icon. This generally should be the top gear when out on the highway or interstate. Cruising in the sweet spot is important because fuel consumption increases significantly if you cruise above 1450 RPM. Remember, the sweet spot for your vehicle is dependent on both the engine load and speed. Now, let's take a little time to review the after-treatment system and Mack's ClearTech engine. ClearTech is the right technology at the right time to all but eliminate NOx emitted into the atmosphere, as required by the EPA 2010 emission standards for heavy-duty engines. As mentioned earlier, at the heart of Mack's ClearTech technology is the diesel exhaust fluid. Remember, only approved DEF from a sealed container or an approved dispenser goes in the DEF tank, nothing else. No homemade mixes, no straight water, no recycled human or animal liquid wastes, just approved DEF. And when filling, everything must be kept very clean. No dirt, foreign particles, paper or cloth fibers, or contaminants of any kind can be allowed in the DEF tank. You may detect an odor of ammonia when filling DEF tanks with the fluid. However, DEF is not classified as a hazardous material. Regardless, it should still be handled carefully, similar to the way you would use household ammonia. Your DEF tank is sized so that a full tank has about twice the range of your fuel tanks. As long as you pay attention to the DEF level gauge and keep DEF in the tank, driving with your Mack ClearTech engine is a breeze. In fact, Mack ClearTech engines are easier to operate and up to 5% more efficient than EPA 07 engines. But there are indicators and inducements you need to pay attention to. As mentioned before, the DEF warning indicator will light when the DEF level is getting low. If it starts flashing, your engine is going to derate soon. You will also receive low DEF warnings in the co-pilot. If you fill your truck with diesel and forget to fill a critically low DEF tank, your truck is going to derate to just 5 miles per hour. It will stay in this derated mode until you put some DEF in the tank. If the quality of the DEF in your tank is poor, a solid amber warning lamp will light up and a message in the co-pilot will alert you about what to do. If you ignore poor quality DEF warnings, again, eventually your engine will derate. And if for some reason the SCR system has been tampered with, you will see the blinking indicator and get messages in the co-pilot. If you ignore the messages and indicators, that's right, your engine will derate. But if you keep approved DEF clean and in the tank, you'll very seldom see any of these warnings, if ever. Occasionally, especially in vocational vehicles, you may see the top of the DPF smart switch illuminate, indicating the need to initiate an active regeneration. To perform a manual or parked regeneration, make sure you are parked in a safe area where there are no combustibles near the exhaust outlet, and then press the upper DPF smart switch to start the regeneration. You will notice an increase in idle speed, and you will see the HEST indicator light. Mack ClearTech engines require the use of ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel and EOO Premium Plus specification diesel engine oil. Using any other fuel or oil will drastically reduce performance, possibly to the point where the engine will not run at all. On the back of the sun visor, there should be a decal that lists the SCR and DPF information and the actions required of you, the driver. If you run into any operational issues out on the road, call Mack One Call at 1-800-866-1177. This completes our overview of the basics of operating your Mack vehicle. This is really only the first step in safely and efficiently operating your vehicle. If you have any questions, consult the operator's manual. Thanks for watching. Drive safely.